happening here? Hey guys, PK Benzene here. No, I am not a known streamer. I just am a big fan of Destiny, and with all the crazy artifact perks, the buffs, um, almost all buffs, not many nerfs that we got for this season, and the new lightsaber, I wanted to make a build because what I've noticed watching other content creators is pretty much, I would say 80% of the hunters I see are using a gifted conviction build with the Tempest Strike and Ascension. Works great. Good damage resistance, can get through the content, but it would be nice to have more than one build. So in comes this prismatic Praxic Hunter. And the three things I wanted to do with this build is one, I wanted to maximize the amount of damage resistance we can have because a big complaint I've heard is people feeling flimsy, especially on the Grandmaster content, the new Conquest, not the Conquest, sorry, but the Grandmaster, basically Nightfall and the Vanguard alert. I guess the Conquest, because they are power limited, and the Lawless Frontier new activity, all can get you up to like a negative 40 power delta, which can seem very oppressive, but if you play into it right, you can make it work. So damage resistance, number one. Number two, I wanted to take advantage of the Praxic Blade, as this weapon is fantastic. Really does a great amount of damage, very versatile, and look at the fashion. It looks really cool. And the third thing I wanted to do was have a build that can deal with all three champion types. So with that in mind, what we are doing is obviously on Prismatic. We are using a Prismatic class item. You can use Renewal Siderachne if you have it, because then you're getting Frost Armor and Woven Mail in your grenade. However, I found that having to stay inside the field doesn't always work that well. There's a lot of content you need to move around to keep striking enemies, so waiting for that Frost Armor while your Woven Mail and other buffs wear off seemed a little counterintuitive. It was something I saw in a Mactix build, and it looked good, but in practice, I thought maybe there's some room for improvement there. So I am using tried and true Inmost Siderachne because grenades will give you woman mail, but with Spirit of Inmost Light, we are getting our grenade and our class ability primarily back quicker. Not too worried about the melee ability because when we have a sword, unfortunately, we can't use our melee ability. We do have one that can be handy when we're switching to our secondary or heavy, but get into that a little bit later. But using Inmost Light and then Siderachne means that we are empowering our abilities, getting them back quickly, which allows us to continue to replenish on our ability to get our class ability back and our grenade ability back to get that damage resistance. So we will start here, starting with Prismatic Hunter. Now, obviously, Prismatic Hunter, you do get some damage resistance straight off the back just when you're Transcendence, which is always nice. So that's one source. We are going to use Shadow Shot Deadfall, not necessarily for the Deadfall. I wish it did have the other Shadow Shot where we got the two shots, because the damage boost on that is huge right now. It's insane. I can't believe how much damage Hunters are doing in DPS. But having a Deadfall tether that lasts a while is great for orb production. We're also spreading that weaken, which makes things a lot easier. And with how quickly we're getting it, we can just completely control the battlefield with that alone. We're going to go with Acrobat's Dodge because not only do you make yourself radiant, but they lowered the cooldown to match the other dodges. So you get Acrobat's Dodge back relatively quickly now, and it's really refreshing because having that extra radiant, being able to stun barrier champions if you have a weapon that can do so and doesn't have a intrinsic that might clash with that and not make it work. Yeah, works great. Triple jump on every hunter. Now, threaded spike we're using because of the severing, because a sever is a 40% less outgoing damage for 10 seconds. So when you're dealing with a mob or some big bosses, that's a huge damage resistance just in itself. And if we go in prismatic in this build, very often it is shocking. I sometimes forget to use prismatic because of how quickly it comes back. So we will have that just in case we don't have our blade out. We can do a quick sever, take our blade back out. For the grenade, went over this a bit. If you want to be more mobile, grapple would work. I do like Dustfield even without renewal because you're getting the slow and freeze on there, which can be really handy. But it's also with how often you're applying it because we're going to have Devour, as I'll get to later. You're getting that grenade a lot. So again, battlefield suppression and just limiting a enemy's ability to counter you, just disrupting their normal behavior. That wasn't initially one of my focuses in this build, but the build does very well at it on the second look. For aspects, we're going with Ascension. Ascension's great if you need to get out of a place quick, or moving around, but more so than that, you're amplifying your allies, you're jolting. Amplified gives you a 15% damage resist for 15 seconds. And when you use Ascension, it procs Acrobat Dodge. So every time you use your Ascension, you're jolting, you're amplifying yourself for damage resistance, and you're getting Radiant. If you use that once you get an orb, then you are also being able to proc other sources of damage resistance, and Ascension does decent damage. If you're in a mob, it usually can get one of them off. So that helps. The other aspect I hemmed and hawed, I want to use Gunpowder Gamble, because if we have Devour again, we're going to get our grenade quickly, but it doesn't really apply to Gunpowder Gamble, unfortunately. Stylish Executioner is great if you have to do objectives, and if you're playing solo. However, if you're playing with a team, that means more things are looking at you, your team rather than you, so you're kind of not doing them a favor, you're actually making more enemies focused on them. So we have Witcher Shroud, which would be great for slowing and increasing our class regeneration. But we already have the slow from the dust field, and our class regeneration is pretty good once we get into the aspects and mods. So I have Threaded Spectre here because, as we learned, I think it was back in Heresy, when you use Ascension and Threaded Spectre, you can leave that Spectre in the air. So rather than the enemies firing horizontally, they're firing up. And if they're firing up, like they're not shooting at you, that thing stays there for a couple seconds, it probably will die. But instead of you going invisible and everything attacking your allies, if you have allies, nothing's looking at anybody if they're around there. They're all looking at your clone first. So by that time, you can do some damage, get your combo in, and probably get another Ascension and another clone and just keep that going until the field's clear. So, great way to not necessarily resist damage, but just avoid it, which is a nice touch. Faceted protection, more resistant to coming damage while you are surrounded. It doesn't necessarily, when it says Transcendence, that's kind of a misnomer. You stack both of the Transcendence resistance, which is 20% DR for 20 seconds, on top of the Faceted Protection DR, which is 15% while near 3 enemies. So you get both of those combined. It gives you a little melee stat, not too bad. Faceted Purpose is essential, because what Faceted Purpose does when we are on Void is we are getting Void Overshield. Now, I don't know if this has been updated. I checked the Destiny data compendium today, and it's 70% damage resistance for 10 seconds and a 45% health shield. So that's, in terms of survivability, that's insane. Like 70% you're cutting down just from the get-go, and we are getting this every time we pick up an orb. And we are making a lot of orbs, you will see. Facet of Hope, while you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. We are going to have Amplified. We are going to have Radiant. We're going to have Devour. And Avoid Overshield. So we almost always have an elemental buff. So we always have the boost class ability regeneration. It's something crazy, like 400% or something. Like it's noticeable. Facet of Grace, defeating targets with kinetic weapons grants you bonus Transcendence. Defeating targets with your super grants you and your allies bonus Transcendence energy, which is nice because we're using our super a fair bit. We're getting a lot of kills with it, so our allies get help. But the nice thing with kinetic is it gives you light and dark at the same time. So if you're just using your lightsaber, you are usually pretty evenly approaching Transcendence on both scales. So okay, we get it very quickly. I'll run an activity and you'll see. And then Facet of Justice, I was hemming and hawing over the facet of mending for curing, but we aren't using our grenade as much as we'd like to, and none of the hunter grenades do a ton of damage that we can reliably get that kills. So rather than do that, we are just going to explode things since we're in our super all the time, and it gives us plus 10 super. So that does help with our stat distribution here, which, speaking of, we are going to try and get weapon pretty high. It's going to help our lightsaber, but also is going to help those ammo bricks that we drop give us more ammo per brick, give us a little bonus on the special damage against bosses. And we already have, if we're over 100, get that plus 15 damage against minor and majors. So that's pretty huge. Other super, you can kind of fiddle with this. I have it about 100 just from the armor I happen to have, which is nice. The 94 grenade will also help, but with Devour, that goes up rather quickly. And then we have about 72 class. We can get our class ability back rather quickly. Again, we do have the Facet of Grace, no, Facet of Hope, sorry, my mistake, to get that class ability more quickly. So that does help there. And the other two stats, not as big of a deal. We could get more health, which would help with the health per orb, but that's the stats I have because the armor I am using, as you can see, is 4-piece tech sec. Because you deal significantly increased kinetic damage to combatant shields. Remember, the lightsaber is kinetic, even though we are weakening with it, it's still a kinetic weapon. Over shields, vehicles, constructs, and the 4-piece, when we do break a shield with kinetic damage, we get a disorienting kinetic shockwave, which does mess up the enemies quite a bit. So having that 4-piece tech sec and the right stats makes things look beautiful on here. Next, we are going to look at the artifact because I will, disclaimer, this artifact makes a big difference on this build. After Renegades, this still will be a pretty effective build, but not nearly as potent as it is in current gameplay. So anti-champion mods don't really matter too much. I'm not really using many of these. The one I will use is Unstoppable Bow, so I can use the Submersion Crossbow because that's quickly become my favorite weapon in the game. It is very good for utility, for damage, ammo economy, across the board, really nice. So we'll have the ability to stun unstoppables with that bow, as well as some other abilities. I'll touch in just a sec here. We'll take charge for extra super is nice, not essential. Rapid final blows kinetic weapon, create elemental pickup that matches your super. So because we're doing that, we are also getting void breaches, which is really nice. A little bit of extra energy there. Press the advantage when we break the shield, which we're doing all the time with the anti-barrier lightsaber. Yes, it is anti-barrier. Doesn't say it on a lot of sites, but if you hover over it, it is. And we are breaking shields a lot with tech sec, so it gives us increased weapon stability, handling, and reload. Swords can increase guard resistance, so we can do some blocking in between if we need to survive a little bit. Kinetic synthesis, very valuable here because we're getting the sustained kinetic weapon damage, getting that unique ammo brick on top of the special bricks we're getting, which is just feeding our lightsabers. So we, most of the time, never need to be hunting for ammo. We have close to full, if not full, lightsaber ammo the whole time. I didn't use Riposte because, unfortunately, with an intrinsic, like Lament or the Praxic Blade, where they have intrinsic anti-barrier, it conflicts with Riposte and will not let you stun unstoppable champions. But we have that already on the bow, so we're okay on that front. Power from Pain, everyone's favorite artifact mod. Rapid final blows against weakened combatants grab you Devour. So you get 3 kills with the melee, you get Devour. We weaken because if you picked up an impact core last week, hopefully, you can weaken if you are on a void subclass, which is included prismatic. So we are getting Devour pretty much anytime we're going in there and light swinging a lot, which we want to do because that will help our lightsaber do more damage with the combo and also helps proc a few other things. Dielectric, I'm focusing on instead of things like Argent Blade and Singularity because we don't need that weaken anymore. We have that from the impact core. The weakening burst is nice, but we are killing things very quickly. We don't need to weaken things around us. We are weakening them on hit and they're dying within a few hits, unless they are very large enemies, in which case we have other ways to shrink them down with Sever or even use our super. So we don't need that. Argent Blade I found doing the light, pausing and light, I just wasn't doing. So I wasn't getting that out of there. So I went Dielectric because defeating arc debuff targets grants Bolt Charge, great for an extra damage. A little lacking in that department so far in the build. But Rapidly defeating the arc debuff target spawns an orb and heals a small portion of health. So if we get that, oh, Creeprin, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to do some streams, not really there, but in between jobs right now. So thought I'd pass on the knowledge and help other people be able to have some sweet builds so they can get through this content, get some really nice tier 5 gear and some really good experiences. So the dielectric we will proc, not just from the bolt charge, but from our ascension every time, which we are getting quite often. So that little health and orb of power, not a lot, but it's pretty much consistent. So we have a source of healing in the background with our neutral gameplay. And then Armor Smith, breaking a combatant shield temporarily grants you damage resistance and increased melee damage. Melee damage we don't really need, might with the Severing Dart when we have our secondary or our heavy out. But the damage resistance, trying to figure out, a little hard to figure out, but it sounds like it's 3% per piece of new gear. So assuming that our that all exotics count as new gear right now, that should proc for about 15% extra damage resistance every time we break a shield, which, if you've seen from the ablative shields, especially in Lawless, there's a lot of shields out there. So that is really helping us. I don't have the last perk. If I did, I would put it on Kinetic Rupture because we're doing kinetic damage and that extra, another source of unstoppable. But I've also heard it, not the stagger is nice, but I've heard the damage is not scaling properly, so it is not, it is ignoring DR on higher difficulty content and doing a ton of damage. Almost there. That's gonna be nice. But Sword Storm combo, 3 light attacks followed by a heavy. You should be doing this anyways with the Praxic Blade because that fourth heavy, the one where you do the kind of flip, doesn't take ammo and does a ton of damage. So this should be your normal play with the Storm combo. And it makes blades that surround you. It's pretty big. It looks like it's like 10 feet to each side. That damage and disorient. And the disorient is great because it just takes those enemies out of play. They're just looking around like, oh, what's happening? And then you just go in. And when you get final blows, this continues. So you can pretty much keep that up indefinitely. Really nice perk. Glad I got to the 5th one here before the dungeon comes out this weekend. Finally, we have, of course, the Praxic Blade. Got that yellow, got lucky on exotic order, doesn't matter. I have the balance form, rapid final blows grant ammo and trigger health regen, another little source of health regen. Increases damage against miners, helps us keep that loop going. Forceful Blade, you can get that from, I believe, Tharsis Reformation once you get to their full one. Increases the impact damage, more damage, always nice. We're going to be using this thing all the time. Impact Core, essential. Weakens targets. You can use Singularity Blade, but then you're missing out on either the Armor Smith or Dielectric. Armor Smith would probably be the one if you had to choose, but if you have this, you don't need that artifact mod. You can save it. And then I have Echoing Blade. I don't really know. Any of these catalysts are really nice, honestly. I would want Energy Conduit. We don't have it yet, just so you have another source, and throwing sometimes is nice to do. But that rounds up the Praxic Blade. For my secondary, I've been switching a bunch. I do like the Uncivil Discourse, but I got really lucky with these Vanguard alerts and got a Motif 41 with a heal clip, Attrition Orbs. I could do Incandescent, but you'll see the Attrition Orbs does seem to produce a fair amount of orbs because based on hit, and because this is an area denial frame, that it really gets a lot of hits in there. We saw that with previous seasons with this new archetype here. And then only one I have, I would prefer the one that gives Unstoppable, but I do have a lot of Unstoppable other things, so the barrier is not bad. Overload would be cool if it, I'm not sure if that's an option, but when you reload after a final blow, the next hit will penetrate barriers. So if your Praxic Blade, for whatever reason, you can't bring that out, or the enemy is in a place you don't want to be up close, you could just throw one of these on and also get those ticks over time, which is going to help both our Transcendence and our Super. Got a reload speed. Again, very lucky, but you can get these pretty... Tier 5s are coming up pretty high, especially if you're over 500 and have one of your vendors on Tharsis Outpost. If you have them to rank 5, Spider will give you a thing to boost all the tier of your guns by 1. Pro tip there, so you can start farming tier 5s and hoping you get the right roll. Lastly, my baby, the Subversion. I have Impulse Amplifier Chill Clip for that increased reload speed, but also projectile velocity helps. The chill clip allows you to deal with overloads because it slows. And then I tested this in the target range, and it does work. I have kill shot on that as well, because if you trigger the champion to put up his shield, you quickly fire off another bolt at a nearby red bar, kill it, reload quickly, fire once more, it will penetrate the shield. Even though this has an unstoppable from the artifact and it has the chill clip that does the overload, those don't counteract each other, and neither does this. So we have a weapon on this build that deals with all three champion types in one weapon. It does chunky damage, and when you're done, you can go, or even halfway through, go and pick up those bolts. So it is a very potent weapon and a great fit on this build to add another source of things like slow and just be able. I don't wind up bringing it out as often as I should because I'm having so much fun with the blade though. So, gonna get this going here. Let's do a lawless frontier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to not use abilities that are going to help me, namely revitalize. I don't want to be constantly getting health and super back. I want the build to showcase its own potency. So let me just see here. Piker or Tharsis, Imperium Pod, Bounty or Sabotage, Bounty or Smuggle. Let's do... What do we got here? These are all smuggle, aren't they? Bounty Piker Gang, that should do it. Bounty Piker Gang, yeah, so that'll come to all three. You want to be as efficient as possible when you're doing these just to really level up and get those credits, be able to buy everything we can. And we just need the pod. When the pod's good, I'll try not to use it, just have it equipped so we can do the challenge here. Freehold, so that doesn't matter either. So let's go in here. It's Grandmaster at 400. Mods today are Health Rules, Exfil, Ammo Famine, Energy Drain, Strand Surge, Ranger. We're not really using most of these. Arc Threat, Cascade, get a promotion. Yeah, not a lot of really applicable mods. I'll put on an Arc just to sure. I only have one. Oh, yeah, also mods. Yeah, I forgot we should talk about these quickly. We got weapons in class here. Special ammo finder to get more special. Super font will always have armor charge, so it's handy. Connect siphon so we get those orbs. Firepower so we get orbs from our grenade. And a grenade font because we can. Helps us, get that back and do a little more damage. And then we get class back when we get the grenade. Keep our class up. So I've reduced incoming area of effect. Helps with things like the burn or those nuclear guys, which honestly will still nuke you. It does an insane amount of damage. We got melee damage resistance since we're in the fray a lot, and arc resistance here. Double kinetic weapon surge to do more while we have the armor charge. Recoup to get a little extra health. Reaper to get an orb. Powerful attraction to pick up those orbs in the ascension. And a bomber to get our grenade back. Span a loop. So let's see if we can get this going. I do have my daughter coming home shortly, but we should be able to run this well under the timer. While we're loading it, I just want to shout out the two content creators, which I used their builds and kind of Frankenstein them together. Plunder the Booty and Mactix. Really great build crafters for both of them. Great at explaining what they're doing and demonstrating it. So, but I didn't see enough sources of damage resistance because we have potentially to get 7 or 8 here. Void Overshield, Amplified, Woven Mail, Faceted Protection, Transcendence, Armor Smith, and the Seasonal Gear. And then our damage resist mods on the chest pieces. So we can get up to like a 99% normally between just Overshield, Amplified, Woven, and the Seasonal Gear. And all we need there is an orb and to use our grenade and our class ability. And we're at 99% damage resist. That's not even counting Protection, Transcendence, or Armor Smith.
Alright, Spider, jeez. Say that with a bit
So
less glee next
we
time
can
you
get
make
the
me
extra
story
objectives here, but we really don't have to. what we really want to do is just, I want to blast through the combat portion, be as helpful to my team, and try to take out as much as I can. Probably going to die, but we'll try not to. Let's just turn on Imperial Drop Pod, and we're going to turn on Recon just to help us pick up a little extra treasure now and then.
You're with the Pikers?
All aboard.
Make sure you stay.
I will say Pikers is probably the easiest faction, I think, to deal with. Tharsis Reformation seems to be really bulky on some of the Wyverns and Minotaurs. Cabal as well. Yeah, the Pikers just seem to be a little bit more. We are not invadable. If you really need to do that, I just switched to a sniper rifle at the start. And then we have the sniper rifle and Until Discourse. Between the two of those, you can really mess up an invader quickly. So almost through the Undertaker challenge right now. So that guy's got his recon up. We're going to put this down. We're going to use that. And now we have Radiant, we have Overshield, we have Woven Mail. We're going to sever him just to be extra fun. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I keep missing it, sorry. 1, 2, 3, and we go like this. Now we have the sword combo.
Track them down. Use any exploit you require.
And now we're low on health, so we can use this heal clip motif here. Get some orbs. Not having the health regen in this mode is makes it quite difficult, but we don't have to worry too much about that if we have this many sources of damage resist. Let's jump in this mosh pit over here. And as you can see, my allies also seem to have some pretty potent sword builds, so you're going to fly through this. And then anytime we see our abilities come up, we should try to use them. Keep the loops going. Let's do this here. Ooh, there we go. Season Pass 40. That's going to help us get that last artifact mod going. And as you can see, we already have Transcendence and almost our super as well. So we're going to save our super just for a second because our ally just used his, and really no point in doubling up like that. Try to get out here to use a little more of this. Yeah, and just keep looping stuff here. We're not even... You can do a lightsaber throw every once in a while. Pick up some stuff here. Get some bounty. 100%. Alright, so we have 7 minutes left, and we are ready at this next part. We just gotta kill this guy in here. There should be another bounty somewhere out here.
It's time to pound the pavement.
Perfect.
Don't let your quarry escape.
And then, oh, that guy's got grapple here. If he didn't, what you can use is use Ascension to amplify your teammates. That lets them get that little damage resist and move through the battlefield a little
Ready to
quicker.
put all this behind us?
I don't know. I'm kind of hoping for a...
Kind of wish we got a worse fire team.
Why? So we can sell it?
So we can sell
So
it.
we can sell it.
But a worse fire team so I can display this better. I do think I'm going to try this solo and just see, maybe not today, but see if this can do some work in the solo content as well. Because with all this ability to reduce damage or avoid it, we should be pretty tanky. There's our sword combo going in. You see those big swooshes? Swoosh, 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 swoosh. And this disorients enemies, so they have no idea what's going on. Looks like one of our allies went to get the secret
Can't move
chest.
in the field if you don't know who's nearby.
Right now I'm just going for speed. I've got enough things here to treasure. I can afford to miss some on one run. I don't believe it affects your lightsaber chance anyways. Your chance of getting a new crystal or anything, so.
Hope there weren't any bad surprises waiting on your radar.
Still trying to get the sword combo down a bit better. But as you can see, it pretty much procs a lot. Chill clip, or chill touch rather, is not fun as a hunter because you basically can't use any class ability. Stored on the recon because there were 2 chests here. I neglected to get. This one's pretty close, so we're just going to grab it. And try to get back to the fray as quick as we can. As you can see, we already have our super back again. So that's the second or third super we've got here. Pretty solid. But we want to be helping our team. So we don't want to just be ignoring people for loot. If you work quickly in these, you can always go back at the end. You should have enough time to exfil if things are going well. So don't worry about loot. Let's throw a drop pod in here because I haven't used this yet. I just want to see it. And that's fun. All right. Use some abilities here. Trying to get that exotic order done. I am on console, so I do want to rebind that button because it does get in the way a lot of times when I'm trying to melee. Not necessarily used to it. As you can see, we have full sword ammo right now. So if you play Hunter and are looking for a way to be more effective with your team,
Track them and don't let up.
this build is phenomenal for that. It's not just a personal build, it is a good support build. Absolutely. So.
Hey, don't let anyone get that glimmer. I always wanted to try programming some myself.
And this is a bonus objective here, so I believe so. Yeah, so we should have easily have the time to do this.
That's a resource in our back pocket.
Especially when you do them together, they go much
Collective
quicker.
Pocket, not your wallet.
Get some ammo, get our loot. Head towards the next tick and treasures here. And yep, so this guy's well on his way. So we should have some bonus objectives around. This
Your
is just
opponents are holed up
but
in there. Don't let them out
yeah,
again.
this looks like a bonus. I'm just going to quickly run over, grab this thing. We still got a lot of time on the clock. Still got half our time here, so. I'm not sure where some of these bonus objectives are, but always try to collect things as you go. Just it does make it a little bit easier to do. Oh, there's a extra hunter mob.
Impressive hunting.
let's, as you can see, it chunks. But we didn't get him on time. Boo. That's okay. That's okay, we're already at the boss.
That's our target.
So we've just got well over 10 minutes here. So I can take some time here to just grab this. Grab one of these, grab the Renegade chest. And then try to get back into combat as best we can. I'm not even going to grab that because we don't need more charges. What we do need is this tether right here. And they're ready tethered, but Deadfall brings them together, which makes things easier. And then we're going to pop our Transcendence as well, since we have it. Maybe shoot one of these into them. And you can see, even in Transcendence, it seems almost quicker than normal of how quickly we get back our abilities. Allows us to just cycle. We're already halfway to our next ultimate, or super rather. So force a habit. Ah, guy's too high up. Whatever. I'm using my lightsaber with throws extra now, just because I do have the ammo. I shouldn't be, but it doesn't matter. Your ally is unfortunately perished, but at this point in the activity we are running at negative, I think, 40 once we get to this stage. You can deflect a little bit of this back at him. Not going to do any damage, but it is going to protect him. We're close to our super, so let's pop one of these motifs, because we've got attrition orb on that. You can just watch the super bar go up. Also, keep in mind, we have heal clips, so if we need help, yeah, again, I really don't like the key binding for that on console. It does seem to get in the way, but... And now we can use our... This. It looks like one of our allies has revitalizing blast, so shoot the tether. It now sticks to enemies and bosses, which is lovely. Okay, this guy's really annoying. One thing that can take us out in a little bit of a hurry is distance from afar from snipers, so. Do a little this, a little dance. Pick up all these orbs. Go in here. Constantly just trying to use our Ascension and our grenade to keep our damage resistance going from our woven mail and our amplified. And we have our super back yet again. So that's like the third super in this room. So might as well use it. Try to spread this out.
Wonderful. We can close this contract.
Yeah, and
Return when you are ready.
then as you can see, boss is dead. We still have over 10 minutes on the clock. So yeah, we fly through this. I need to catch up to my allies, so I'm going to use Amplified so I get speed boost. These guys seem to know where all the treasures may hide, which is lovely. I imagine we've got most of these already, but there's always room for more treasure, right? Alright, so we got 11 minutes to get out of here. Let's make it 5.
Syndicate chat is spiking.
Oh, hold on.
They're a little peeved. Good work, buddy.
Just gotta say, Blue being in all the missions, you would think, oh, one character, I'm gonna get bored of it. No, the voice acting is phenomenal.
Well done. Pickup's on
Their
its way.
choice of her voice is fantastic. Really happy with the overall choices made for the voice actors on Renegades. Alright, and we don't have super, but we do have Transcendence, so let's see if we can get some of that going. And we're running double special. There is almost nothing that we need require us to hunt for ammo. We are doing incredibly well here. Let's put on our Sword Storm combo. It looks like one of our other allies is using a somewhat similar build, which is great. Because we are getting back that tether. We have multiple tethers per each of us per fight. Alright, let's wait for a tether here. Put one about in the central position. That was a terrible throw. But that doesn't really matter. We're going to try to force more enemies here. Oh shit. Ah, there we go. I knew it happened once. Shanks are nasty like that. But let's redeem ourselves. Problem is, the one time I didn't have my Ascension, it was mostly because that missed throw. Until we get the regen on the throw, I'm not a big fan of it because the tracking is not amazing, I will say. Get treasure here, because why not? Use that to get our Devour up. You can see I still need to do a little practice. It's still early in the season, but a little Praxic practice. Huh? I'll stop.
Your ride's here, Guardian.
Right, and we have 30 seconds to exfil. We are going to use a tether just to put that in. Get a few more kills here. And that's all she wrote. Always nice when you don't have to jump super high to get in. I've messed that up a couple times.
I'll be showing my fellow Praxics today's write-up. They ought to see how it's done.
And there we go. In and out. No fuss. One death. I wish we could see the stats because that was probably at least 100 orbs. And then go. Get your stuff. Do a couple contracts at once. Get your rep. Exchange out your bounties. Hope for something good. Rinse and repeat. But a lot less painful than hoping you survive with your allies.
I've relayed your rally coordinates to flight control.
A+ rank.
Sit tight. Hawk's coming.
Easy. These guys, very good. We're going to do a little dance. We're going to be happy. And always, always give an endorsement. If your team did well, you didn't get wrecked, endorse your team. Because they helped you get there. So yeah, that is the Prismatic Praxis. I want to call it the Praxic Panzer, like a tank. It's a very tanky build. You can stay alive in. Damage still effective, and very good rotation of your abilities, as well as anti-champ capability, and you get to use your fancy lightsaber as much as you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope to see some of these builds out there, and see our hunters trying to keep up with our Nothing Manacles Warlocks and our Stronghold Titans, as they seem to dominate the conversation. But there's some very potent builds. Looking maybe do a solar build that has access to Devour next, because saw Llama post something about that, and that looks fun as well. So Happy build crafting, happy Renegades, and may the Force be with you.